five-headed beast. And the five-headed beast represents, well, it represents a situation where you might not have a single executive stakeholder that you are able to meet with at one time. You might have multiple stakeholders or a committee that you have to coordinate. They may represent different areas of the business, different business lines or stakeholders, and they may not be on the same page. In fact, they may not even be on the same side. And you've got to manage different needs for each stakeholder. And our challenge as project leaders is getting alignment, not just from each stakeholder, but we also have to manage alignment between them. Now, their strength is that a coalition of senior leadership like this can be extremely hard to stop. They can really make a lot of important changes happen. Their weakness, of course, is that it can be really hard to get that initial alignment, and it will always take work to keep that group aligned through the life cycle of your project. It can be very, very challenging. And our goal here is we have to develop a coalition of agreement one at a time and then grow that in group size. And I've learned this in working with some real, in government especially, that this is something that I found to be very particularly successful, and also works in business as well. Is, let's say you've got 5 very strong-willed executives and they don't necessarily align. We found it to be very useful to start with 1 or 2 key executives, get alignment between them, and then go on, maybe talk to another 1 or 2 executives, get alignment there. And what you're doing is you're gradually building alignment 1s and 2s and 3s before, this is a key thing, before you present the question, the problem, or the ask to the group of, let's say, 5 executives. Make sure you've socialized it, you've discussed it, you've gotten alignment individually and in small groups before you present it all together, and you're going to have much, much higher success. Pre-prepared, of course, for differing or conflicting priorities, and just be ready. It's going to take a lot of time, and we'll call it personal growth. Honestly, it's going to be hard, and I think we know that. From a PPM utility belt perspective, we found it really useful to have the ability to quickly pivot your project, to be able to say, well, if I add this resource, if I take these resources out, if I change the scope, if we alter this approach or change the strategy or bring in another supplier, the ability to quickly pivot and understand those different scenarios and each of those resulting impacts gives us the ability to find a way to satisfy the needs for all of our stakeholders at once. Still a lot of work, but the ability to have our tool set get us there is a huge enabler.